SportsMax. We're in the second half hour of the SportsMax zone for this Friday, and we're back to talk some football. The FIFA World Cup in Qatar resuming Friday with the first set of quarter-final matches, and they were both humdingers. In the first quarter-final, Croatia stunned the tournament favourites and world number one Brazil, getting the better of them 4-2 on penalties after a 0-0 draw at full-time, then 1-1 after extra time. The second quarter-final, which ended just a couple of minutes ago, saw Argentina beating the Netherlands 4-3 on penalties, following a 2-2 draw in extra time. Chris Taylor, a familiar voice on the Jamaica Premier League and ISA schoolboy football commentary, well, he's joining us now to recap the day's matches. Well, let's go chronologically, although the Argentina one is fresh in our minds at the moment. And maybe Donald would want to talk more about Argentina than Brazil, because
I'm sure he would.
He's been sulking all day following Brazil's exit. But Brazil had the game. They were minutes away from securing their semi-final spot. But what a fight back from Croatia, and an advert of determination and energy from the Croatians.
Excellent performance by Croatia. Using the experience from 4 years ago, I thought that certainly came to the fore. I mean, Luka Modric, such a phenomenal player, the way he controlled the tempo of the game and so on. I thought Brazil throughout the match, you mentioned when they scored, which would have been with 15 minutes to go in extra time, and I agree, they sat back a little bit too much, looked to be a lot more passive than they were earlier in the game, and instead of looking for that second goal to kill it off. Credit to Croatia. I thought, as I said, the experience, I thought they were very disciplined. They defended narrow to close the lines. But I thought that Brazil throughout the entire match could have been a bit more aggressive. If you look at the goal in which Neymar was a major part of, the architect and the finisher, how many of those kind of runs did he attempt in the game? And that's my problem there. Neymar is their number one player, their top player, the man who can really pull things apart, but yet didn't really look to take on defenders, I thought, as much in the attacking third and so on. And even apart from Vinicius Jr. in the early 10 to 15 minutes where he ran at a couple of defenders, I thought Brazil could have done that a lot more. I thought when they got to the 18-yard area, they're looking to pass a little bit too much. But credit to Croatia.
Tite has obviously resigned. But talk to me about the changes that he would have made in extra time, because I felt that whatever little momentum that Brazil had in extra time diminished, because they wanted to sit back and they wanted to invite the pressure. They just couldn't handle it in the end.
Yeah, he took off Vinicius Jr., he put on Rodrigo. I thought
that was in the 90.
Yeah, I thought that was a good change, actually. I thought Rodrigo off the bench brought good energy. I thought some of the runs that they had nearer to the end of regulation time, he was a big part in it. So I actually thought he was a good change, even though Vinicius Jr. in the first half was really good and brilliant and putting Croatia on the back foot, but I thought his second half was a lot more flat. Yes, he took off Militao and brought on...
you agreed with it? You agreed?
Yeah. Well, Sandro, I mean, it's a like-for-like change. Maybe it was the tiring legs of Militao. Maybe he was a little bit concerned in terms of the solidity of the back line. It's so funny that it was a lack of defensive. Yeah,
with that equalizer, yeah.
Well, we don't really know the full story as to why he would have withdrawn Militao at that stage. I don't know if it was tired legs or so on. But I don't think the match was lost there. I just think for an aggressive team like Brazil, if you look at how they played in the second round, how they took it to their opponents, I thought they were a little bit too relaxed a lot of the times, just thinking that they would naturally break down Croatia. Croatia a lot older. If you're going to say that you had a concern about their legs throughout the duration of the match, then why would you not attack them a lot more, Brazil? Force them to commit, have them run up and down a lot more.
I get your point, and you said the game wasn't last year, but you have to look at football in a particular way. They had the lead, they had the advantage. You can't just look at it generally now and say, well, the game was lost from before. There must have been something that was done or undone why Brazil conceded the way they did.
It was a little unfortunate because there was a deflection, quite frankly, and it's the deflection that beat Alisson.
I think it was a good build-up, though. There are good build-ups in football. Croatia is a quality team. Perisic, Modric, Brozovic, and so on within the middle of the park. They had
probably the best midfielder of the World Cup.
All of them had a really good game. So if you look at the build-up of the play, it was actually a pretty good build-up. I would agree that I thought the Brazilian defense were a little bit lackadaisical. Well, from the midfield, if you look, a lot of players were standing off almost maybe in disbelief that it would actually happen. So, I mean, that could be tired legs as well. But credit to the Croatians for the goal that they created and scored. Yes, as Lance said, there was a deflection, but the build-up was very good. But as you said, Brazil should have created more opportunities. They did have some chances. Big game for the Croatian custodian between the sticks. But yeah, I was a little bit disappointed with the general attacking play of a team like Brazil, who have so much potency and so much danger men up front.
I think part of what affected Brazil too was their respect for Croatia, which to me is something that I admire now in Brazil teams, because the Brazil teams that I grew up watching had very little respect for their opponents, and they lost a lot of matches just because of disdain for their opponents. So this Brazil team, or recent Brazil teams, have shown a lot more respect for their opponents and a lot more urgency defensively, midfield, tackling and so on, and they played hard. I wondered though that when the match went into extra time, because of the brilliance of the Croatian goalkeeper, if Brazil wouldn't have been worrying about a penalty shootout, that they wouldn't want to go there.
Well, they should never want to go there. I mean, we've been saying from 2014, Croatia had majority of their games go the full distance. And every game we were saying, well, you know, Croatia, the legs are going to tell, and they made it all the way to the final. So, again, they've come in this tournament. A lot of the players, well, 4 years old, obviously. And we're saying that they're an old team. They won't be able to keep up. But again, Luka Modric played the entire 120 minutes, plus converted a penalty. So it shows that a lot of these players were maybe underestimating their level of fitness.
Yeah. And remember, he had come off in the round of 16
correct.
Match. So he wasn't there for the win, Luka Modric. Yeah. But against the Brazilians today, the coaching staff invested confidence in him as the experienced man.
They took off Brozovic instead near the end. But I just like if you looked at the first half an hour of play, Brazil were certainly pressing a lot and so on. And as the game went on, I thought Luka Modric especially controlled the tempo of the game after a while well, and they upset, I think, the rhythm of Brazil, especially in that second half. There was a lot more possession by Croatia in that second half. I thought Luka would fall into the pockets, control the tempo of the game. Kovacic as well had an excellent game, even though he came off in that second half. So I thought Croatia did a good job of that, of what should I say, of shortening the tempo, of lessening the high intensity of the Brazil attacks by just keeping possession, moving the ball around, and then causing a lot of the Brazilians to have to move in ways that they wouldn't have wanted to.
Maybe this is Neymar's last World Cup. Scored a brilliant goal, I thought, in giving Brazil the lead in this quarterfinal match. What would his legacy be like, early reactions, if this is indeed his last World Cup?
Well, obviously this would be a big disappointment for him. I mean, a lot of persons would have been looking to him from 2014. So, yes, in and out of injuries and so on. And yeah, this is probably his last opportunity. Obviously, he would be greatly disappointed. The Brazil fans would be greatly disappointed. And I think leaving the World Cup in the way he has, well, yes, he scored a brilliant goal, but throughout the 120 minutes, he didn't even kick a penalty in the penalty shootout. I mean, they may say they were leaving him for number 5, and they didn't even get there.
That's a general feeling.
Yeah. But you know, sometimes, you know, there are different ways to think of that. Do you want your best kickers going up front to set the tone? You know, Brazil missed their first kick. Yeah. Should he have been that person taking the bull by the horn? So the way in which he left the World Cup, very disappointing. I think Brazilians would have been happier had Neymar had an outstanding game, left it all out there, and they still lost. I thought he could have done a lot more. And I thought, as I said, in the early parts of the game, very willing to pass off the ball and be a lot more passive than really running at this defense line. And look at the goal he scored. It showed what he could do. We
want to go over to the Argentina, but I'm not sure we should think off the top of our heads that Neymar may have played his last World Cup, because he's going to be 34 4 years from now. And both Messi and Ronaldo are playing World Cups older than 34 at the moment. So
he could very much still be around if injuries, but injuries are always an issue for Neymar.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's not, for example, a Ronaldo that has stayed injury-free for the majority of his career. I think the style of Neymar's play as well welcomes injuries. As to whether, you know, if that will continue as he gets older, obviously harder to recover. Yeah. You know, we wish him all the best. But as I said, I think looking back at his own play, he might be disappointed in terms of his performance in the quarterfinal.
Putting up a punctuation mark on the Croatia match. They had so many standouts, a team effort. Livakovic, the goalkeeper, obviously gets the man of the match honour, but there were so many other outstanding players for Croatia today.
Oh, certainly. They're number 20 in the back line, outstanding, their centre back. Galovic, I think is his last name. The right back, outstanding, Jovanovic again. So, I mean, they played very well. I mean, not to mention the midfield, as I said, lots of experience there. And they really came to the fore. I think they shared the responsibility.
Yes.
And it showed that, you know, they were used to the stage. They have been there before. They have won tough matches. And I think they surprised everybody. Not necessarily the fact that they got the result, but in the manner in which they managed the entire time and were able to upset the apple cart.
Let's talk about Argentina. They really dominated this quarterfinal match for the first 70 minutes. Didn't expect it to be so close in the end. Didn't even expect it to go to penalties. But talk to me, were you surprised by how they imposed themselves on the game for so long?
Surprised, no. Impressed with how they started. I thought they really looked hungry from the start. I thought they have been slow starters in many other games, and that wasn't evident today. Separate and apart from the goal, just their energy, their intensity in terms of that first half especially, really put the Dutch on the back foot. And the Dutch, with such a solid back line, I mean, they were able to break it down. Obviously, that beautiful pass by Messi.
Beautiful is an understatement. that was magical.
Yeah.
It was
glorious pass. Still a lot of work to have been done by Molina, and I thought the way he took that ball, that first touch was important, and then to that strength and finish, very good as well. I mean, you look at it and everybody will just remember the pass, but as good as the pass was, it still needed a lot of work in terms of to finish it off, and I thought Molina did excellently to do that. But the Dutch have quality players. No surprise to me. This fixture, if you look at history apart from maybe 1974, where the Dutch ran all over them, it's been close. You know, they met 8 years ago. It went to a penalty shootout that Argentina won. The World Cup before, Bergkamp's exotic winner, right? The 2-1, another close match which came. So this has always been a close fixture. I wasn't surprised that the Dutch came back into it. You even call it, Lance, that you thought the Dutch would have gotten the equalizer. Well, you thought it would be at 1-0, but you know.
But let's talk a little bit about how they got back into the contest, because they were very direct after they realized that they had to become desperate, really, in search for the 2 goals.
Yeah, and I love the free kick as well. A lot of creativity. I mean, who better to do it than the Dutch? I mean, total football, Johan Cruyff. I mean, that kind of
hardly see those strategies in free kicks.
Yeah, that was lovely. That was lovely. I mean, it might have been a bit fortuitous in terms of how it eventually got to him, but the idea behind it, the thought process in how they worked everything, I thought was lovely. And the finish, you know, still not an easy finish, but, you know, executed well. Credit to the Dutch. At that point, I thought the momentum was with the Orange. But yeah, extra time, you know, nobody really wanted to make a mistake. I thought both teams somewhat being careful. Argentina came so close at the end, hitting the post. So, you know, maybe if you were to judge everything, Argentina probably more deserving of the victory at the end of it all.
I guess so, but the fight back that the Dutch delivered would make you feel some sympathy for them for fighting back, because Weghorst is a horse. He's like he's like 6'5", big, strong, and not the kind of centre forward that any defender likes to come up against. In fact, it was because of his size and physical strength that allowed him to finish that free kick as well as he did, because he had challenges. There were defenders challenging him,
but he shoot them off.
And he was off balance as well when he made a strike. I mean, he doesn't look very big in terms of, you know, bulk, but certainly he's tall and
he's
big
strong.
Frame.
He's
strong,
obviously
strong
very strong.
Strong on the ball. But I mean, big credit to the Dutch for fighting back like that. And I mean, for a substitute to come off the bench and 2 important goals, I thought, when they got that second goal, I thought to myself, the momentum is with the Dutch. But as I said, maybe they were a little bit overcautious maybe in extra time. I'm not sure if it was the legs again, but the penalty shootout in this fixture has not been favourable for them, and it proved
what about the monkey that's on Lionel Messi's back, because he has been heavily criticised for his performances for Argentina in the knockout phase of the World Cup, and of course missing out on the final in 2014 against the Germans. But he had a goal today, he had an assist, and he
had a goal in the second round as well.
Yes, and he scored his penalty. And because we know the pressure that he's under, and we've seen him miss penalties before, I thought there was a lot of pressure on him, even though he was the first kicker. Donald and I looked at it, and he wondered why Messi is kicking first for Argentina. But he's a captain, and he stood up to the job well.
Apart from his first World Cup, this is the most relaxed I've seen Lionel Messi at a World Cup.
Yes.
Maybe it's the age, maybe it's the experience now, and I think that is why we're seeing better performances from him. I think, yes, he knows that the pressure is on him, but how he's managed it, I think, in this tournament, maybe he's just said, well, look, whatever happens, happens. But I thought he's been able to go about his play in a much more relaxed way and so on. I think he's also playing high up the pitch, which I'm happy to see.
Yes.
They have not been over-reliant on him in terms of playing a central midfield role. A man who's scoring 50 goals a season, put him in his best position and work out the rest. And I think that the management team, staff of Argentina have done better with that. Putting him in the positions where he can most impact the game.
Yes.
And we're still seeing it at his old age. But I think he's a lot more relaxed. You look at that penalty. He was so composed, so relaxed. He just waited for the keeper to go and then slotted it. So it shows that he's managing the pressure and the occasion very well, and that's a good sign for Argentina.
Okay, Chris, quarterfinal action will continue on Saturday, of course. Let's have a quick look at the matches that will be on for Saturday, including England against France. That will be the afternoon game. Morocco against Portugal in the first game. Quickly, which teams do you think will advance to the semis? And don't just tell me England because you are an England fan. If you're going to say England, explain yourself, please.
England and Portugal. I think, yes, I think Morocco can be very well organized. I'll start with them. Like a Croatia, be very disciplined at the back. They do have players who can express themselves. Where I think Morocco is lacking is experience at this stage. And that's what I think will work for Portugal. Portugal do have players who've been here before. They have created a lot of problems in the Euros, World Cup semi-finals before. So I think Portugal, especially if they played like how they played in the second round, I think they'll just have a lot more quality, especially up front. Young, vibrant, energetic players. Bernardo Silva, very mature now. Bruno Fernandes, João Felix. Quality players. I would like to see Ramos start instead of Ronaldo. I think Morocco's best chance is if Ronaldo starts, actually. Because I think they play too direct when Ronaldo starts, and he's not the forward that he once was.
Yes.
I think they play better team football with Ramos on the park. So you see more players coming to the fore, and I think that's what Portugal needs. So I would actually bring Ronaldo off the bench, and I think that is Portugal's best chance. So Morocco, I think, can cause problems like what Croatia did, but in getting over the line, I think experience might be the Achilles.
How do you then think England will shape up against Mbappe and company?
I think England's chances are very good. A lot of persons, maybe just because of England's history and falling short and getting ahead of themselves in terms of winning championships, that people give them a hard time. But I actually think Gareth Southgate has a very good squad, a deep squad, players in all positions and changes in all positions. I actually think Gareth Southgate is somewhat of a coward, and I think that also hampers this team somewhat. I know a lot of people say he gets criticized unfairly, but maybe with this squad, maybe another coach was a little bit more adventurous. Instead of getting close, they would have won a couple titles before. They would have won a Euro. They might have won a World Cup. So, yes, it's good to say, but he's gotten further than a lot of persons. True, but nobody had this kind of squad as well with this depth in terms of England. So I think England have firepower in all areas. They have good young talent. They have mature players as well. And I think the key for France, obviously, is Mbappe. Yes, they have quality elsewhere, obviously Dembele, Giroud. But I think with England's two slow centre-backs and Giroud being slow, maybe it's a perfect matchup for England there. Giroud versus Maguire and Stones, all three are slow. So it's really how England manage or help to restrain Mbappe, I think, is the key. He's what he is. He's an explosive player. I don't think he can be stopped, but maybe he can be managed. How England deal with him might be the key. But I think England have a lot of firepower that they can turn over France, and I wouldn't be surprised. We've seen so many surprises today as well. I wouldn't be surprised if England create a big one.
But you mentioned that the coach Souness is
Southgate.
Goodness me. Yes, that he's a bit of a coward.
Not a bit, a coward.
So wouldn't that go against you because he may revert to playing three at the back again tomorrow? That could be in his thinking.
No, I think he'll play four at the back. I just think he's overcautious at times. I was proud of what he did with Senegal. I thought him playing a creative play in the midfield that added a lot for England, with Foden coming into the lineup. I think that's necessary. I don't think we need to get carried away with 2 number 6s and just a box-to-box. We need a creative player there as well. Ball retention will be important against France, so I can understand him wanting to use players whose work rate are high as well. But we need to be able to create, England need to be able to create chances for Kane and otherwise. And I think that has been a problem for them throughout. You can't have a forward like Harry Kane, who is one of the best in the world, and you're not creating a lot of opportunities. He goes through a half and doesn't get many touches. So it's important for him to play a creator with the others. But I think a 4-man backline is the way he will go. I just hope he's not too conservative, which to me has been his Achilles so far, even though they have gotten, as I say, results in previous years.
Okay, so your edge goes to England and Portugal.
Portugal.
Okay, so that Portugal-Morocco game could be, as Don King once said, the unstoppable force against the immovable object, because the Moroccans have been the best defensive team in the tournament, and Portugal have been among the freest scoring teams. So that is a clash that I am intrigued about, just as I am about the France against England. And I think Mbappe will take care of Chris Taylor's team. But we'll see what happens on Saturday. A reminder that there are cash prizes and surprises, including authentic football jerseys when you play the SportsMax World Cup prediction. You can download the SportsMax app from the Google Play Store or the App Store to participate.